All right then, I think I'm live. So, hey everyone, how you all doing today? I just want to check quickly. Well, yeah, I hope you're all doing well. So XD, so they said first time waiting for Steve's stream, almost being the first waiting for an hour. Okay, yeah. So I'm hoping, I'm hoping I set the stream time right and I didn't set it an hour earlier or something because it says 10 a.m., which it is currently in Korea at the moment. Nomad, it is mouth frog time. You know, you remind me, it was about a year ago, someone pointed out to me that the closed captions on YouTube never caught math rock when I said it. And that's most of the time because I didn't pronounce the T and the H correctly. I was saying it was like math rock. And I had all these hilarious screenshots that I captured from my videos. Like it was like my frock and mouth frog was one of them as well. And I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but there was some really 9 times out of 10 it was never right. And then that makes me worry because with the YouTube algorithm, it reads the subtitles to know what the video content is about, and math rock is the main part of the video, and it's not picking it up correctly. So I wonder if it's promoting it to the correct audience there. So yeah, hey everyone, hey Herbert, good to see you again. Hey David. Who else we got as well? Hey Saturn, Saturn Lamau. Hey, how's everyone doing? So usually do this on Monday. Well, I did move it to Monday. This week was a public holiday in South Korea, so my son was off nursery, so I had to take care of him for the day. So I decided not to do it that day. I took a break and back at it today. So hopefully next week, Monday, we will be back to the regular schedule. So if you're new to these live streams, welcome. What I tend to do is have some lesson-based content at the start. Takes about 10-20 minutes, and then afterwards we can just talk about that topic. I can answer the questions that you give me to the best of my ability. I don't know everything, so please keep in mind that anything that I say or try to teach you in these videos might not be the best way, and there might be things that I am missing or I say things incorrectly. So hey Paul, Eric, excellent. Got Touch, what's that, Tacho? Tune to FACGCE. Hey, good to see you again. I swear I've seen your picture somewhere before, and your sign on is very apt very appropriate for today's video. Okay, Saturn went to DAEAC Sharp E for the first time last week, and now E Standard seems really ugly. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about those things today, and I just realized I have got a compression on the mic, so I've tried to make the microphone louder. In my headphones it's peaking, but hopefully for you it is not clipping. So let me know if I need to adjust any levels. I'm more than happy to do that for you. Okay. What's that? Kagrawk. Kagrawc. Sadly, they can't listen right now. I'm in a meeting. Well, I appreciate being here. It's always good to see everyone. Yeah, I'm right. So, hey Stephen chat. So D-Dogs, good to see you again. I did miss you back there. So let's get into the content today. So I have some notes that I put together last night. I went through this, and the good thing about doing these things is I can, show it to you now, teach it to you now, and then it always makes good content for a lesson later on. All right. So backstory, alternative tuning. So I'm going to approach this like as if you've heard some people use these tunings, perhaps you're not familiar with them, and you're looking for some tips and some things that you could possibly do. So if some of this seems obvious to you, bear in mind that's the approach that I'm coming from. So to go back to what Saturn said, standard tuning it seems quite ugly to play in because standard tuning is not really tuned to anything, right? It's not tuned to a chord. So when you strum In open, in standard, E standard, it doesn't really sound like much. So then you have to apply chords and whatnot to make it, sound like anything anything that sounds good, really. Whereas with different tunings, so alternative tunings. So let's take this one, for example. Let me see if I got the guitars in shot. I'll come back a bit. Our camera's not looking as good today, not as crispy. So, for example, this Telecaster right now is in that same tuning. So, it is in D, A, E, A, C sharp, E tuning. So that sounds lovely because basically it's tuned to a type of chord. So when you strum it open, it sounds very dreamy, sounds very inspiring, and you can already start to, through like implicit theory knowledge, you can start to hear like things that you could possibly, how you could take that chord and melodies and stuff that you could possibly do to it. It gets gets your brain working straight away. I think that's the benefit of using a alternative tuning. It does a lot of the legwork for you. Another popular tuning is FACGCE. So you may have heard of that one, very famous one, most notably in the song Never Meant by American Football. I do have two guitars today. So this one's in D, A, E, A, C sharp, E tuning, and the Yvette signature is in a different tuning, but I'll get to that one later for purpose of examples. So, right. So backstory, that's where we were. Different tunings is something I'm not that familiar with. I tend to play in standard a lot of the time because I have a built-up, theory knowledge of where chords are, where scales are, arpeggios. I have this roadmap built into, ingrained into my memory of where things are. So it's just, for me, it's more comfortable to play them. When I put it into a different tuning, I'm relying heavily on implicit theory knowledge. So there I'm relying basically on my ears to guide me to what sounds good. However, I do apply some theory knowledge, and I'll get to that bit in a bit later, and hopefully that little segment will help you out there. Looking at the notes here, right. So I tend to shy away from open tunings because for those reasons, really. But however, they are incredibly good fun, and to me, it kind of just gets out of the way. You're not thinking like in terms of theory, and you're letting your ear do the work, and you can come up with some really cool stuff. So I highly recommend trying some of these tunings if you haven't already. So that's a bit of backstory. Like I said, I'm not that versed in these tunings, but the knowledge and what I'm going to impart today is stuff that I've learned and what I've noticed, and hopefully you'll benefit from some of this information. So the first tip, we're going to go with tuning and intonation. So in the case of this one, I'm in, like I said, D, A, E, A, C sharp, E. So some of the strings have tuned up, and this E's come down to D. So you want to check that your intonation's in as well. And this one's probably slightly out, but for the purpose of this video, it'll be fine. So when you fret a note, it's not sounding, too sharp or too flat in that regard. So if you're not familiar with how to intonate, it's not too difficult to do. Just watch a quick video about that, and it will make it's one thing to have all these open strings sound in tune, but when you fret a note with other ringing open strings, if you've got a sharp and flat note, it's going to start to clash and not sound all that pleasing. So if you're ever wondering why things sound a little odd, that's one thing you could possibly check there. Right, and yeah, so next thing is, in these open tunings, I'm approaching it in the style of, let's go with like, tiny moving parts, Yvette Young, Algernon Cadwallader. We'll look at standards as well, so Marcus Menner. The approach of basically playing chords and melody at the same time. That seems to be the draw to open tuning. So that's the main approach that I'll be taking with this little segment here. So if you're going to apply a capo, because I'm in this tuning, we'll play one of the most popular riffs in this tuning. So we're going to go the 4th fret. And what you need to do after you apply a capo is you should always retune. So that's one thing I notice a lot of beginners won't retune. Noticed when you sent me videos, it sounds a bit iffy. So now I've put this capo on. You see, it's gone rather out of tune again. So let's retune quickly. Most of the time it will go sharp because you're pushing down on the strings. And do bear in mind, you will have to do this a few times as the strings move around a bit. That's gonna put a whole semitone there. So that's better, right? So now if I was to take this capo off, the open strings without it on would be quite badly out of tune, but for the purpose of this, using a capo, we are in tune. Yeah, Hunter's Paradise. You should always retune when you put a capo on. Basically, the thinner this part is, the more of an indent it's going to put into the strings, so it's going to make things sharper. And you want it to be tight enough so if you're bending stuff, the string's not going to get stuck or caught. So it's important to make it tight. So, like for example, my other capo, sorry. This one's a bit wider, so it doesn't affect the tuning so much. So, yeah, a little bit wide is usually a bit better there. Yeah, so make sure you retune. Okay, thanks you, Neural. Thanks for the compliment there. Slightly out. Sounds pristine, David said. I'm still using a pen and a shoelace for a capo, Saturn. No problem with that, as long as you're retuning. So, okay, we've got to this point now. All right, I haven't played this in a long time, so I'll probably mess this up. Talking about, let's get the mic out of the way a bit. Oops. Wow, I haven't warmed up. Yeah, if I need to practice that one again, but that's always focused by tiny moving parts. So now that's sounding in, none of the notes are really sounding that out. So that's tip 1A. What did I put as, 1B was to retune. We've done that. So I don't think I've missed anything there. Sounds lovely. So that leads us on to the second tip, which is the main part, yeah. A bad rendition of tiny moving parts there for you. And like I said, I haven't even warmed up today, so just bear with the mistakes. Right, and my cat really wants to get out the room. Okay. So, let me get focused again. Always focused. Playing always focused should help me get more focused. So, the next step is for writing things. You've got to this stage. It's sounding lovely. Perhaps, you've got ideas firing around now. You're starting to hear things that you could possibly do. So the next thing is going to be writing. How can you write with these ideas? I'm going to let my cat out because it's driving me crazy. I'll be back just in a second. All right, minor setback, yeah. The cat is gone. Typical. She'll probably want to get back in a second. Right. So where was it? Yeah. So the first thing I recommend is always go and learn the things that inspired you to try out alternative tunings. Even if you play them badly, no problem with that at all, because there's so much you can learn from it. So if we take that always focused idea, basically, essentially what we have is two guitar parts played at the same time. We have a harmony, such as, you know, this ringing note. So that's essentially the, you know, not quite there, but that's essentially the, you know, the chord progression. Yeah, so we are in D, A, E, A, C sharp, E tuning, if you just joined. So that's the harmony, and then we have the lead lines over the top, right? So, you know, essentially you could do this as two individual guitar parts, right? So one could be playing these chords while the other could just do the lead line. But here we're combining the two. So that's the first thing you can notice by learning this riff. You'll see that there is a chord progression of these three chords. So, and then what have I got after that? Right. Yeah, and then the next thing what makes using the tuning, this kind of tuning, much easier to play and write in, is the fact that as long as you stay diatonic, so I'm saying within the key, so everything sounds nice and safe, you have access to all of these strings for doing pull-offs. So, oh well, one way is using pull-offs, of course. So you could hammer on, of course, from the open string, but probably say this progression's like that, right? Yeah. Yeah. So you can make use of those open strings for like nice, fluid, legato sounding phrases. So that's another benefit of using that. In standard tuning, you can only do that with certain chords or certain, you know, keys that you're using. So you're playing basically against, along with the key with this open chord sound. So it all fits together, very harmonious. So that's, I think, one thing that's very attractive and what makes it quite much more or less work for you to make these kind of phrases. So perhaps now you're asking, you can find that kind of harmony, right? You can find a chord progression quite easily if you use your ear. And if you know some kind of theory knowledge about a key, so this would be explicit theory knowledge, then you can work where these notes are, where the chords are in the progression and apply it that way. But it's completely fine just to use, you know, your implicit theory knowledge and just find something that sounds good and works for you. Right, so moving on. Yeah, so for example, I'm going to take what I learned from this now and show you what I did with it. So from these things that I noticed, I applied them to my own idea, and I made a song called Stride. So you may have heard of this one. It was on the Persimmon single that I released. So I first came up with a chord progression, some harmony to play a melody over the top of. And I came up with this chromatic idea. So descending on each one. And there's a lot of tension building there, right? Me, 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 me. So I wanted to release that tension. It needed to do something. So I came down one more fret here. And then after that, I filled in the melody. This took the longest time. I used my ears. I fumbled around for ages until I found notes that worked. I recorded it on my my phone. I listened back to it the next day. Didn't sound good enough. Went at it again and again, and that's how I built up this tapping idea. Again, I haven't played this in a while. I should have rehearsed this, right? Yeah. So that melody idea, like I said, like a bar of 9/8 and 4/4, that I spent quite a while on writing that, and the whole chord progression descends to release there, and then I had the chorus part. Let me get a pick. If I could tap it right. But yeah, so that whole song is based around verse chord progression for the chorus. So there's just 2 chord progressions for that whole thing. And with the melody lines and stuff, chorus is just chords, and then when it comes to the end, it's the same chord progression again, but I came up with this tapping part. Oh, if I could play it right. And then resolve it nicely down to the tonic at the end there. So that was all based around that the tiny moving parts idea. It's the same tuning on the same fret as well with the capo, and harmony with melody over the top, and that from that frame, I took that framework from that song and applied it to that. So there was that. Okay, carrying on. Looking at my notes here, and like I said, for the lead lines, I'm letting my ear do a lot of the work. So I encourage you to try the same. Trust your ear. That's what I'm trying to say. Make sure you record your ideas. So listen back to them perhaps a day later, and think about the phrasing as well. That's very important in that regard. Okay, thanks, Morpheus. And sorry, I'm ignoring the chat here. Anus Repairman, Vince is in the house. You're at work, if you wanted to say hi. Excellent. Okay. Yeah, so I encourage you to try out this tuning or FACGCE first if you're new to using these. So yeah, I can show you the same process again. So let me change guitar. Shoo, there we go. Right. Yeah, it is Tauman time. And the wonderful Tauman, perfectly balanced. People say, like, oh, the body's heavy. It's like, it's just as heavy as a Telecaster. And there's a reason for it, because it balances ever so well, like this. Right. So now I am in D, A, D, F sharp, A, E tuning. And the reason for that is because I'm currently making a video on like top 5 tapping intro riffs that you should learn. And one of those is, if you're familiar with the song Kale and Strawberries by Standards, I've been trying to learn that and failing miserably. So I'm in that tuning. I've got a problem with the sitar high E on this at the moment. This thing comes strung with 11 gauge, so the nut is cut for 11 strings. I'm using 9s, so basically it's ringing, catching in the nuts here, so, you know, like vibrating. And that's why you get that sitar kind of sound. So I'm going to try and put 10s on it, but, you know, my weak fingers can't do 11s. So, yeah, that one. It's probably let's fail at this then. Then the other riff. Yeah, it's that, but played much cleaner and much faster than that. But yeah, if you haven't heard that song, Standards, Kale and Strawberries, it's just awesome song. So that's going to be one of the riffs in there. So going back to our thing about using different tunings and gleaning information from these different tunings, the reason I played that one for you, the whole piece, if you noticed, in the intro there, is based around these 2 chords, right? These open ringing strings here, and this one, yeah. When you come to that tapping part, so now the melody is in between those, you know, those 2 phrases, those chord phrases, right? And then, you know, add on top of that. So again, like that tiny moving parts idea, we have the harmony. So this chord progression, and then we're essentially playing the, you know, the lead line over the top of that. So that was the ideas I noticed. So I had another go at writing something, and I put this on you know, my YouTube last week in this tuning. So I placed the capo on the 3rd fret here, because it put me in F major, so I could find you know, it's just easier when working out chords in that regard. So again, quite nice and tight on there. Now we're going to be a bit sharp again, but notice how it's less sharp than a Telecaster, depending on how high your frets are. And like I said, this one's got a bit of a wider bit on the top there. So let me just retune quickly. There we go, sounding nice and lovely. And now we've lost the sitar sound from the high E as well. So this one, it was like a double inspiration. There was the Standard song, and then I got this if you're aware of the Boss synthesizer pedal. So this is an idea I had. I'll put that on. Had some delay on it as well, if I remember. Wow. I want the effect to sit. Maybe I'll take the drive off. But it's a cool pedal if you haven't tried it out. I've got it set quite low here to sit behind the thing that I was playing. But I came up with this quite atmospheric kind of piece. So again, based around that standards idea of 2 chords. So I just had open like that, and then the third. I added this like kind of tapping part between it. What was after that? So that was like kind of like intro and like a verse section almost. So I saw this as like the intro, and then again like the standards idea, I have the the lead lines in between, right? Change to the second chord there. Another thing as well, if you want that string to keep ringing completely underneath, so if you're going to fret 1, you need to think, if you want this to keep ringing, you need to think about how to fret it so you can still play the melody over the top. Tap, harder little finger. Yep. So I thought that idea sounded cool, especially with the synthesizer pedal. Approached it with that 2 chord idea, and then it went on to like moving it from the minor third to this major on the 4th here. What did I do again? And it was back down to the 3rd again. Yeah, again, that was based around the 2 chord kind of thing. Again, like the stride idea was that tension and release building tension, and then we get this. And then with a lot of tension there, so release it back to the tonic there. Synth level's a bit higher than I'd like it, but it sounds cool, demonstrates the point. Right, hey Byron, yeah. Sorry, I was playing Final Fantasy X yesterday. It reminds me of B-Ron. So I just shown you 2 ways I've done that. I took the exact same process, inspired by the Always Focused, made an idea from that. Obviously didn't rip it off, I made it my own thing. And the same again here. 2 chord progression, and come up with some lovely ideas, just been inspired by that standard song. So the point I'm getting at is if you're stuck for ideas. You've tuned to this lovely open tuning and you don't know where to go next. A good place to start is by learning what others have already done, taking what you notice and applying those ideas to make your own kind of things. That would summarize everything in 30. Instead of 30 minutes, I could have just probably said that, and that might have done it for you. Right. So yeah, that concludes the segment. That's as far as I got with the notes that I wrote down last night. I hope you found some useful information in that, and I appreciate you watching and sitting through all of that. I haven't rehearsed this, so I wrote it down last night, so there were things where I went off on tangents and stumbled and lost my way, so I appreciate you going through all of that. So back over to the chat. So if you've got any questions about okay, so now about different tunings, it's a good time to ask. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this, but I do have some things that I could possibly help you with. So I'm just going to flick back up the chats. Joel, you asked to turn the guitar up. Sorry, bit late now. But I'll bring that up a little bit for you. All right, so this is a good question. Celsius is that? I can't see from here very well. They asked, for alternative tunings, does the setup action play a part in the sound? My advice there is try not to have too low action when you haven't got the especially if you're going to be using a capo, because when you put it on now, the the gap's going to be even smaller, your action here, so you might run into problems with fret buzz and such. So I recommend setting it, I usually have mine about 1.5 to 2 millimeters off the 12th fret, depending on the guitar. And also you need to make sure that there is some relief in the neck. So imagine, like, if your neck's perfectly straight, you've got your action. When you fret it, it's likely that it's going to hit other frets if it's not set up correctly. So if you put a bit of relief in the neck, so it's kind of like a slight bow, then when you're fretting around here, you're not going to catch the other frets when you play. But if you have a go at that, mess around with it. If you're really unsure, if you don't feel like you can do a good job of it, just a setup doesn't cost too much if you can get it to someone who could do that for you. But I recommend that you don't have any fret buzz. It's harder to play, obviously, the higher the action is, but it's going to sound better and clearer for you. Right. Morpheus-esque, they asked, at your leisure, so if I have time. Okay. Thoughts and tips on tuning with unison strings, repetitive pitches. Unison strings. Oh, okay. So you mean using tunings that have the same tunings? Well, this one has two DAD, so the A's in this case, these strings are the same, these strings are the same. Completely fine to do. It really depends on what chord it is you're going for as a open tuning. Like, for example, take like F, A, C, G, C, E. In that tuning, only the C's repeat, if I'm looking at this right, and that makes a major 9 chord. So that sounds rather tense, but beautiful at the same time. This tuning, D, A, D, F, A, E, you've got a bunch of repeating strings. Doesn't sound as like quite mystical and magical in my opinion, but it does sound, does sound like a chord when you strum it open. D, A, E, A, C sharp, E is basically, it's, you've got an A and an E repeating there again. In this case, this is just basically an A major chord with, a D in the bass, so a slash chord. And that also sounds good too. My recommendation, these are all majory sounding tunings. So if you want it to sound a bit darker, a bit more mysterious, then perhaps try tuning to like a minor chord instead. But no problem with repeating strings. You can go as far as, I've seen some channels where they do like the same, every string is the same tuning and stuff like that. And that's a bit wacky, but it sounds, interesting territory to explore. Okay, So XD recommendations. They asked recommendations on what types of tunings to try. I'm currently staying with standard tuning. I'm very interested in other tunings. Excellent. Well, I did recommend some at the start. Nothing wrong with staying in standard. Like I said, I tend to stay in that tuning. Well, that's where I'm comfortable. That's what I like. But the two I recommend is the American football never meant tuning, so FACGCE. You could try FACGBE, which is a tuning that Yvette Young uses quite often. This guitar, when you buy it, comes in that tuning, though it's not really in that tuning after it's been shipped halfway around the world, right? And DAEA C# E tuning. So this is, I think it was popularized probably by Algernon Cadwallader. And then it's predominantly a staple tuning of Tiny Dylan Mathiesen from Tiny Moving Parts. Those two are wonderful. Thanks Nate for recommended the tuning there. I keep forgetting that we should help each other out here. I keep forgetting to check if someone's already said some stuff. Okay, thanks Nomad for the applause. This lush sounding chords. I think I read that already, Morpheus. Thanks. Okay, Ryan in Village Tuning there, yeah. Okay, Saturn, so you're quite new to this, so glad, they said, so glad I discovered this genre. It's become my obsession for the past month or two. Excellent stuff. Glad to hear that. Spoon, morning, good morning to you. Was that Mormin? Can't read from here. Okay, carrying on. Okay, Epion, hi. What would tapping be on the piano? Well, that's just playing the piano, right? But you do bring up a good point there. Like when I was saying earlier, we are combining harmony and melody. So we're essentially playing two guitar parts at the same time, but we're also playing it like a piano, right? One hand is taking care of the harmony, and the other one is doing the melody work. And you could keep them separate the whole time, but you'll find that you need to use them interchangeably, your hands, when doing that kind of style. Right. Nate was guessing at the tuning. How's my life in Korea? So far, so good. It's been all right. I've been here for 10 years, actually. Sometime either today, tomorrow, the next day. I just remember I came in August in 2000. No, next year is 10 years, sorry. 2012. So yeah, 9 years, sorry. Alex, they said they had a terrible day. Do something that makes you feel comfortable at the end of, if you're at the end of the day. That's what I recommend. So listen to some music you like, or if you want to play guitar, I recommend that. Nomad Love Standards, excellent stuff. So it's 2:30. Okay, so I guess you're in Europe somewhere, but so tempted to pick up your guitar now. Well, you could, if you're feeling inspired, inspiration doesn't wait, right? Okay. Yeah, Morpheus, Forrest played drums on most of the Standards records. I know now he's with someone's gonna shoot me. I learned learned their name last week. I forgot now. But I'm not sure if Forrest. I know on the latest recording it's already all done, and I know Forrest's played on that one. Okay. The effects that Boss SY1 is incredible. It's really cool pedal. Okay, carrying on down. Now, thanks for all the lovely comments. Where were we? Hey Kuda, thanks. Yeah, time's always appreciated for doing these. Thank you. Hey Nuriel, you made it. I recognize the name. Yeah, finally made it. Did you do one of the Super Tuning Friends video I did? I can't remember. Perhaps I've just noticed your name from the comments. Okay, Nurai, sorry. I'm not a beginner, but I'm not opposed to start over. In your Patreon section, do you have like a course from amateur to intermediate to pro? I don't have something like that. On my website, I list like beginner style videos and intermediate style, so you could check those out. The Math Rock book, if you have that already, I would say there's lots of intermediate to pro stuff in there with the examples that you could practice. There's something, I'd love to do that kind of thing. It's just I'm so stretched for time as it is to get things done. I got a list on my phone of all the video ideas I'd like to do. I'm trying to get this update to the book done as well before November, because it's been a year since I last updated it by them. I've said this on other streams, but like, this is my kind of second job. It's my hobby. It's what I enjoy doing. I do have a full-time job and I have a family, so I have a limited amount of time I can dedicate to this, so there's only so much one person can do in that regard. But yeah, I appreciate the question. There is stuff. What perhaps on my YouTube channel I have like a beginner playlist, but perhaps I can make something that's more like, these are the videos that I think are intermediate or towards pro level. The thing is, I'm not a professional guitar player. I'm trying to get there. I mean like improve my level and stuff like that. So I can only do so much in that regard. But thanks for the question. Okay, so Anus Repairman is home now from work and ready for the Steve stream. Excellent. Well, glad you can join us, Vince, again. You should still be a moderator, Vince, no? I believe I made you add moderator. There you go. You are now a moderator again, Vince. I'm not sure why it got removed before. Maybe it's been such a long time. All right, Morpheus. Okay, excellent. I'm glad it helped there. Right, AJ's music. Hey Steve, what pedals software is good for dropping the guitar to all tunings if you don't want to tune? I really don't know. I can't help you in that regard. Just, if you've got just one guitar, I can see it's quite a pain to, tune and retune. Don't worry about breaking strings. Don't worry about hurting the neck. That's not going to happen, okay? Going up a tone or a semitone is not really going to do anything to your guitar. If you are planning to keep a guitar in a particular tuning for a long time, then I recommend looking at the different gauges of strings. The basic rule is the higher you tune up a string, the thinner gauge it should be, and obviously vice versa. So if you tune down, you should use a thicker gauge of string. For example, in the This Town Needs Guns TTNG Animals book, there's a whole section on that at the start where Tim recommends the different gauge of strings that you should use for different tunings that are in that book. But that means buying a lot of individual strings or buying packs of strings and mix and matching them. So that's again another thing to think about. I'm thinking of doing that because after I've done, I'm making content all the time, so I think I'll be changing tunings quite often, especially on, this is the reason I bought this guitar, is to use these different tunings. But I need to get this nut changed so I can use like 9 or 10 gauge on it without it sounding like a sitar, because of the string is vibrating in the nut slot here. Okay, yeah, off on a tangent, but I don't know any of that kind of things, those kind of things, unless if you use like a pedal. Again, I couldn't recommend one for you. Okay, XD, they said thanks to everyone for the tuning recommendations. Alex says they love me. Well, thank you very much. Okay, Buongiorno. I just got one of the new baritone Squire cars at the Carbonita tellies in the mail. What should I tune it to fun? Currently on drop G. That's a cool telly. Did you get the same color as this? There's like Lake Placid blue, or there's the sunburst one, right? I really want to get the Lake Placid blue one because it just looks really, really cool. Right. Okay, Hugo, they asked any tips to make tapping louder, more prominent, or both hands, sorry. Can't seem to articulate or make them sound proper. Let's turn the synth off for now. What I recommend is, if you're going to play in clean, use a compressor. Like compressors basically like I got this from Dan Steinhardt from this pedal show, but that pedal show, it's like kind of like the overdrive for your clean sound. It really guns your clean sound, so like tapping becomes much cleaner. I'll turn it off quickly to give you a comparison. Makes it a little less work and a bit more articulated, especially like when you're going to have using multiple different fingers, different pressures, busier parts. A compressor is pretty much essential when it comes to that. Like for example, trying to tap with the underside of my little finger there is not as strong, right? What thing I recommend for you, if you want to improve your finger strength, this hand, your fretting hand, is always going to be stronger. You know, it's already been, you know, fretting stuff on the guitar, depending on how long you've been playing for. So things like this, if you walk up chromatically from the 5th fret, let's say, with all your fingers like that, so index, middle, ring, and your little finger. That's the one way you can practice strengthening that one, and try and get like hit with the same force with each finger as well. Then you can start to mess with the ordering of that, so you know, you could go index, ring, middle, little finger, and then go up the fretboard like that. That I don't find too difficult. You can practice like being staccato or you know, each of them flowing into each other like legatos, more legato style. Then what you can do is take your other hand, anchor your thumb usually on the side of the neck here. It's going to make things easier for you, and then carry on that chromatic run. With me, little finger's very weak, so I like to put my ring finger on top of it like this for tapping to give it some more strength. Otherwise it feels very flimsy. So and then just go up all the other frets that way, and that's a very useful exercise, especially for warming up as well when playing guitar, if you're going to be doing tapping. So I hope that helps you, but that's something I would recommend for building finger strength there. And if you want to make it more loud and more prominent, make sure if you're playing with clean, make sure it's like loud. It's enough to articulate each of the notes that you're playing. Right. Yeah, so Paul underneath said use a compressor to make tapping sound louder. That's certainly something you can do. Okay, right. Carrying on. So here you go. You got very bluesy, thick strings, high action, hard to tap. Yeah. Bringing that down would help a bit, bring the action down. XD is that they asked, is very heavy distortion okay with math rock? Completely up to you. It's subjective, so if you want to do that, you're more than welcome to use that kind of thing. A lot of earlier styles of math rock, the stuff that was starting to blend it into what it became, was much more distorted guitars and more dissonance. So yeah, this completely has a place, that's for sure. Okay. All right. Carrying on down. Funereal. Okay. Thanks for the plug. Going to dig in. Excellent. Good, good, good. Okay, so you saying perpendicular, yeah. Yeah. This things with tapping as well is muting as well is very important. So if I was to give you another tip, use your index finger when you're not tapping with it, of course, to mute. Otherwise, if you don't mute, you're getting that open string sound, right? Versus, I mean, help if I make it clearer with the delay off. So always try and keep that floating as a mute, just lightly touching the string. And you're going to get a lot of unwanted overtones. Like, for example, the different tuning don cap. You know, if you can mute. Use a mute that way if you're going to be tapping just with you know, the other hand basically. So muting is very important if you want to make things sound cleaner as well. Right, carrying on down, where are we? All right, I'm gonna have to wrap up soon. We're at the hour mark. Okay, so Hugo, you found that tapping on other guitars is a bit easier, so probably going to invest in some different strings too. Okay. As a fabulous. If you want the ebook, it's there's a link in the description of this video. It's on my website. If you can't use PayPal, because that's what I can use for my website, then it's also on my Teespring store as well. So you can grab it there, and there should be under this video. I don't know what you're seeing, but there should be the ebook on that one there. Oh, okay. So you sent it to me like in November, but I never got to pay it for. Oh no, that's fine. Like I said, if you're a student or you couldn't afford the book, you know, you can always reach out, and you know, I'll send it to you in an email. But yeah, I don't want to cause you any, you know, financial stress, or you know, I'm just happy to, you know, provide some kind of education resource to you. Okay, AJ, thanks for the tips. Excellent. I will make sure you tune for each song when you put the capo on as well. All right, carrying on. Nomad, wait. They say, wait, do you actually use your little finger when tapping? Not that often, but there'll be times when it's like, let's say, again, I'm going to go back up to standard. Otherwise, I'll just be playing in circles, I feel like. Give me a second. How out of tune is this going to sound? Oh, not too bad. The lovely sitar sounding E, high E. That's the problem with using a trem, right? Every time you tune up a string until it gets settled. That'll do for now. So let's say you had like a like this A major arpeggio. So let's say you were playing an A major 7 chord up here, and you wanted to tap this this A major arpeggio here. This is where thinking about, sorry, I need to try and talk into the mic, where get that over there. Thinking about the positioning of this hand, so which fingers are taking care of which note. So like for example, I'd start that on my ring, go to the middle finger, and then come up to the index. Or you could even start it with a little finger, ring. Yeah, so there will be times like that where if we add, let's say I added that high E in there, that like it probably would make sense to use the little finger there, but I tend to just always go to the ring. So, but yeah, it's up to you if you want to develop the strength in that one, but you can get away with using the 3. The other thing as well to think about is when it comes to like hybrid picking. So now you've removed your index finger from the equation. So now I tend to just use my middle and ring finger in this regard. Yeah, sorry, just rambling on there. So yeah, let's wrap this up. I'm always behind on the chat. Okay, going back up, where was I? So okay, do you ever use a little finger? Nate, how do you practice or do grace notes when tapping on guitar? That dude from England does it really well, but I can't comprehend it in my life. Grace notes, if talking about like tapped harmonics. Or harp harmonics like that. So you find the corresponding fret an octave higher if it's harp harmonics. Get your finger on the actual fret wire, and then in this case I'm using my index finger, and then you hold it so it's like a harmonic, so you're floating on the string, not actually indenting, not pressing it down, sorry, and then use your thumb behind it to pluck it. That's harp. Tap is where you just again follow the same frets. But tap them instead. So I think that might be one of the 2 that you're looking at there. Okay, cultivate. They'll be practicing something I said, so excellent stuff. Hoover, I just realized you're at 84k subs. Can't wait to reach 100. Me too. It's slowing down a bit recently, I think, because it's like, summertime. A lot of people are on holiday, and perhaps my content has not been that great recently. If you didn't check it out last week, I did a how to write math rock riffs video, and it didn't really do that well. I don't think many of you saw it. So lots of useful information in, let's turn that down, in that video. So I recommend going checking that one out. Right. Okay, going down. Okay, so yeah, Yuchi, any tips for constructing chords and alternative tunings? I find the root of that chord, and then I just put my fingers on the fretboard until something sounds nice. That's my tip. It's true. I'm not gonna lie. If I really want to, I can sit there and work out the individual notes, but I'm not trying to make it sound like standard tuning, right? So therefore, we can come up with some really cool sounding chords by doing that. So trust your ear. That's what I'm saying. Right. Okay. So Nate, you meant more like arpeggiating, tapping. Okay, I need to check that out. I'm not a big fan of invalids, if I'm honest. So I need to check out what it is you mean exactly. But I could have a look at that if I get round to it. Right. So I forgot to say at the start, I got a new t-shirt design that I've been working on with Rob from Discord server. Wow. Can't think right now. So if you join Patreon, I have a Math Rock Discord, where we all hang out and chat. And I was looking to redo some of my logos, and Rob offered to help me out with that one. So I wanted to share the new design with you. And basically, I've replaced the American football house one with something that looks a lot less like the original. And let me share that one with you a second. Right, okay, so that's not working. I'm just going to have to share my screen with you, so hopefully you'll be able to see. Get rid of that one and do the display. Right, and there we are. So hopefully you're seeing the logo. If not, then this would be embarrassing. But anyway, so we've got the infamous house, and as you can see here, we've got the my catchphrase almost now, right? The hope you're doing well on the banner at the start, and then I've put Rob put the text up on the top here, but I'm thinking this looks rather lovely. What do you think to that one? This is going to have a crazy video for a second. Video capture device. And there, I'm back again. All right then. Okay, and I have to wait for the stream to catch up before I get to see what you say about that one. Yes, you saw it. Yeah, it is out currently. Is it on here? Where are we? Yeah, there we go. And I'll throw that at the top for you there. Looking good, yeah. So I've got mine on the way in the post. It's printed in America, so it's going to take a little while to get here. But that's the new design. So that's replacing the old, American football house one that we had. Okay, over to analytics. Hey, Monashino. All right. With that American Foot House with the TTNG funds, yeah. And there's going to be another one. And if you're interested in getting some stuff done, I was happy to work with Rob because Rob listens to the bands we like and stuff, so he knew exactly what it was I was looking for. So if you're interested in getting some stuff done by Rob, on that link I just sent you in the description of that t-shirt, there's Rob's artwork link stuff in there, so you can get in contact with him there. Yeah, I have it. Yeah, it's funny how it's become the most recognizable symbol. Yeah, so that's why I named it. What was it? The house where it all started, because for many of us that's the first record we fell in love with, right? Okay, so thanks for today. I hope you appreciated all the alternative tuning stuff. I'm still on my journey. I'm still learning these kind of things, and it's wonderful. Very good fun. If you haven't tried alternative tunings, trust your ear. They're ever so much fun. That's all That's all I'm going to say on that one. I'll try and make this into a video like I do with most live streams. I talk about in the live stream, I give lots of details, and then I change it into a video where I can go into a bit more detail and make everything more streamlined. All right, thanks for today, everyone. Regular schedule next week. So on Monday next week, which would be Sunday if you're in the United States or either North America or South America, on that side of the world. And yeah, I think many more of you can join in that case. Okay, I think that's everything. This Friday there'll be a video, and I'm not sure what that's going to be yet, but we'll get it. There'll be something. All right. Cheers, everyone. Have a great day. Have a great evening. And I'll see you all in the next video, or I'll see you all next Monday. Cheers, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.